Suspense. Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Miss Lucille Ball and Mr. Desi Arnaz in The Red-Headed Woman, a suspense play produced and edited by William Spear.
Well, Hap, are you over your cold?
Oh, no, Harlow. I still feel run down.
Hey, watch your words. We're on for Autolite Stay Full batteries, remember? And Autolite has done everything to keep these brawny bundles of endless energy from running down. Why, Autolite Stay Full batteries have extra water reserve above the plates to foil failure from lack of liquid. Need water only 3 times a year in normal car use. They've even got fiberglass retaining mats at every positive plate for longer battery life. Why, in recent tests based on SAE life cycle standards, Autolite Stay Full batteries gave 70% longer average life than batteries without Stay Full features. So, friends, see your Autolite battery dealer and get an Autolite Stay Full battery for your car. You're always right with Autolite.
And now, with The Red-Headed Woman, and with the performance of Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Jensen Corporation. Hello?
Hello, Linda?
Yes. Oh, hello, Frank. Oh, look, darling, I thought I told you not to call
I know.
me.
I shouldn't call you at the office. I'm sorry, Redhead, but I had to talk to you. You see,
Oh, darling, you sound so grim. Is there anything wrong?
Oh, this is going to be tough, Linda, but you see, well, it's kind of hard to explain, but...
Well, go on, dear. You can tell me anything. You know that.
Oh, you're sure swell, Linda. That's why it's so hard to tell you.
Frank, you haven't committed a murder or anything, have you?
Oh, no, of course not.
Well, what is it then?
Linda, please, I tried to tell you last night. I know it's hard to justify, but...
But what? Frank, you've met someone else, is that it?
Yes, Linda. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's quite all right. Is she blonde or brunette?
Oh, honestly, honey, Linda, I couldn't help it. It was one of these things. It just happens. Sometimes things do.
Well, you don't have to explain, Frank. I'll send your ring back this afternoon. I hope it fits her. Good luck. Tears came, and then I tried to laugh it off. And then I felt myself getting good and mad. What a fool I'd been. For 2 years, my every thought, my every move had been patterned toward Frank's wishes and welfare. Other girls, the selfish type, were holding their men. It was... Well, I'd made up my mind that the future would be different. From that minute on, I'd think of myself first, last, and always. Suddenly, I wanted to get away, do things, have beautiful clothes, money, especially money. I suppose it's the kind of independence any woman wants to grab for in a moment like that, when she's found out you can't depend on a man.
Good morning, Linda.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Jensen.
Feeling all right?
Of course. Why shouldn't I?
Well, I don't know. You just seemed a little despondent.
No, I'm fine.
Good. Oh, will you put this away for me?
What? Payroll money? Well, it's only the 5th, isn't it?
I'm going to Florida for a couple of weeks, Linda.
Oh.
I drew the payroll money today because I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yes, doesn't it? I've been thinking about it for years. Say, why don't you take a few days off while I'm gone, Linda?
What? Oh.
Why don't you, Linda? It's a good idea. Certainly I won't be needing you.
Well, I could come in on the 14th and handle the payroll.
Oh, you needn't bother. I can get Walters.
Well, he's pretty busy, Mr. Jensen. I'll come back and handle it. I'll just be in the country somewhere close by. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Looking back, I suppose I thought of stealing the payroll right then. I must have, for a few minutes after Mr. Jensen left, I visualized how easy it would be. Only he and I had the combination to the safe. He'd be far away in Florida for 2 whole weeks. I could leave the next day. I could have at least 10 days before anyone could find out anything was wrong. I thought about Frank and that brush-off he'd given me. How easily I might forget him in new surroundings. Well, when I closed the office that evening, I took the envelope with $21,000 in bills and stuffed it into my handbag. Then, I don't know why, I took the gun Mr. Jensen always kept in the safe. Next morning, I left Kansas City and began driving west. By the next afternoon, I was well into Texas on the inland route. I knew vaguely that I had to get across the border, but the actual fact that I was a criminal hadn't quite percolated yet. A few miles out of Big Spring, the weather changed, and dark gray clouds replaced the blue skies. Then I came to a roadblock, and I had to detour. It was a winding, makeshift road of dirt that stretched on and on for miles. I hated going so slow, but there wasn't anything I could do about it, so I switched on the radio and tried to feel comfortable and forget what I had done. Then a few drops of rain splashed against the windshield, and I hoped that I'd make the main highway before it really let loose. It was then that I heard the announcement.
This afternoon, in one of the most daring daylight holdups in Texas history, the 7th Bank of Abilene was robbed of $40,000. As far as is known, only 2 persons participated. A tall, dark-complexioned young man wearing a light gray suit and hat, and an attractive red-haired woman dressed in a green suit. In effecting their successful getaway, one of them shot and critically wounded an elderly bank guard, a veteran of World War I. The couple left in a green panel truck and are believed headed in the general direction of El Paso. More news after our next music.
Well, these were worse criminals than I was by far, and they'd made a getaway. I shut off the radio. To my right, black letters loomed suddenly against the yellow background of a sign. Midland, Odessa, Pecos. I slowed down to 30, rounding a series of blind curves. Coming around the last one, I saw a man standing in the middle of the road. I jammed on my brakes to keep from hitting him. He started walking toward me.
I'm very sorry to bother you this way, but my car is out of gas, and I was wondering, could you perhaps let me siphon a little from your tank?
Well, sorry, but I'm low myself.
Oh, please, don't be like that. I've been waiting here for hours. You're the first car I've seen. I would just take a little.
Well, I can't. Honestly,
All right. Then perhaps you would be so kind as to give me a little lift to the next gas station?
Well,
Oh, come on now. Don't you believe in the good neighbor policy?
Well, all right. Get in.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. We'll find a gas station right on here someplace. I won't even take you out of your way.
Well, that's all right. I'm going in the general direction of
El Paso?
El Paso. It all came together suddenly. The radio announcement and this man who was just sitting down beside me. He fitted perfectly. Dark complexion, light gray suit. I glanced at the car parked by the side of the road. Yes, it was a green panel truck.
Well, senorita?
Look, I'm terribly sorry, but I don't think I can take you after all. You see,
Oh, now, please. I have been marooned here for 2 hours. It's very important that I get to Pecos in the next 2 hours.
Oh, and where are you going after that?
Me? I'm going to travel all over. After Pecos, I'm going to beat it down to Juarez. That's across the border. From there, we're going...
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Look, I would like to pay you for helping me.
He drew a sheaf with new bills from his pocket and dropped a fresh 20 into my lap. I opened my handbag and my fingers closed around Mr. Jensen's gun. He looked down at it.
Hey, what?
I said I've changed my mind.
Okay. That's the way you feel. I don't argue with a girl who's got a gun.
I didn't even wait for him to close the door. I let out the clutch, stepped on the gas, and got away fast. When I finally reached the highway, I speeded up still more. I'd had a bad scare. I wanted to talk to someone about anything and forget that man. Maybe that was why I was so relieved when I came to the little town of Pecos and saw the carnival a short distance ahead, and why I stopped to look at it. Even from the car, the bright lights and the people and the carousel, gaily painted horses going round and round made me feel less lonely. I wanted to get out and mingle with the people and drink some pink lemonade and buy a red candied apple. Go in one of the midway tents and see Tortoro, the sword swallower, and Lopez, the ventriloquist. But instead, I ate a hot dog in the car and bought a silver ashtray from a little Indian girl. Then a sudden burst of thunder reminded me of the approaching storm. I started the car and left the carnival behind me. A shock. I'm in no position to risk their maybe tracing the call and finding out my name and investigating me. I hung up the receiver. I went out and wheedled a cup of coffee and a donut out of my host. And then I went up to my cabin and went to bed. I woke up about 10 o'clock. A car had driven up and stopped right outside my window. The headlights were shining in. When I got up to pull down the shade, I saw the car. It was the green panel truck I'd seen on the road, and this time a woman was in the front seat. Then the proprietor and the other man came out of the cabin next to mine.
All right.
I lowered my shade and then listened to
I'll wait till the storm is over, and then I'll go on to El Paso. Is it all right if I leave my truck out here?
Sure. There's a garage in back if you want to use it.
No, thanks. I'll just park it here near to the door.
I heard him enter his cabin. I locked my door and sat down on the bed. It was very quiet next door. Finally, I guess I must have dozed off. But then, all of a sudden, I was awake again. Voices, a man's and a woman's, were coming from the cabin next door. I got up, opened my window very quietly, and listened.
Saturday morning, it's mine, Jose. I don't think you had better forget that. If you do, you will be sorry. Very sorry.
You are wrong, Carmencita. It will not be me who is sorry.
What do you mean?
It shouldn't be difficult for you to figure that out.
You mean? Oh, but that is so funny. You couldn't get along without me. No. Not even for 1 week. Not 1 week.
I would not laugh if I were you, Carmen.
Wait, Jose. Don't do it. You're just trying to be funny. No. You don't do it. Jose, no. Please don't.
After that, everything was quiet. I was stunned, frozen. Then I heard his door open. I hurried to my window and carefully raised the shade a few inches. It was quite dark, and at first I could only hear his footsteps. And then I saw him. He snapped on a flashlight, looked around with it. He was carrying a roll of blankets, and he put it down carefully in the wet grass. Then he opened the rear door of the green panel truck. There was a long, oblong box on the floor. He stooped over and lifted what I'd thought was the roll of blankets. But I was wrong. From one end, a head was visible. A woman's head, with red hair. I must have thrown up my hands and hit the window shade. It clattered to the top. In the tense silence of the night, it sounded like a machine gun. The man outside spun around. He trained his flashlight on me. He took a long look. Then he turned around and dropped his gruesome bundle into the long box. I turned away. I couldn't look anymore. Finally, I heard him walk toward his cabin, go inside, and shut the door. Then I took a chance. I threw on my raincoat and shoes and hurried to the proprietor's office. I knocked on his door and called to him. There was no answer. So I wrote a quick note and slipped it under his door and hurried back to my cabin. I closed my door and was just fumbling with the key when the lights went on.
No use to lock it now, senorita, and don't make a noise.
He was sitting in a chair, smiling, casually pointing a gun at me. My gun that I'd foolishly left on the dresser.
You were not so very smart, were you, sweetheart? This gun, it looks nice. I think you handle it good, too. I almost found out this afternoon on the road, didn't I?
Now, look, I wasn't going to use it, honestly, but, well, you know, you read a lot in the papers about the trouble people get into picking up strangers, and
Yes, sure. You're always careful. Stay out of trouble. Mind your own business. That is very good to remember, senorita.
That's all I was doing. Well, what do you want with me?
It's just too bad you looked out on me just now. I wouldn't have known you were here.
I didn't mean to spy on you. I was awake, and when I heard a noise outside, I looked out, that's all. That was natural, wasn't it?
Maybe, but it didn't turn out so good for you, did it? Come on now, we're getting out of here, and you are coming with me.
But where are we going?
Just places, senorita, just places. Come on now.
But what do you want with me? You don't want me.
Don't want you? Why, I'm crazy for you. I've been looking for you. I've been looking for somebody just like you.
Autolite is bringing you Miss Lucille Ball and Mr. Desi Arnaz in The Red-Headed Woman, tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Feeling better, Hap?
No, Harlow, I think I'll take the vacation my doctor advised.
Decided